Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome back. Today, I have the great honor, and I still can't believe it, that I have one of my favorite musicians here on the video, on the Souldisco video. It's Ojiji, and we will get to his story later because there's a fantastic reissue coming out by my dear friend Graham, and he has Continued Sound. That's his label, and he was very often in the live streams, and what he has done so far is absolutely fantastic and outstanding. So yeah, I can't wait to hear all about the reissue later on. But first of all, OGG, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. My name is Rupert Ojiji Harvey, and just a lifelong musician, and just a pleasure that Graham reached out to me when he heard my album. And the rest of the story will be shared in this interview, I'm sure. But thank you very much.
So, Oji, you were born in Jamaica.
Yes, I was.
And you moved to Canada when you were 11 years old. How did that happen?
Well, my parents had left Jamaica a few years before me, and then they sponsored us to Canada when they came here. My dad was a scientist, microbiologist, and they moved to the United States, where my dad continued to practice microbiology, and he was also an RMT. My mom was a school teacher. So when they moved to Canada, they got hired immediately into government jobs, right? My dad actually worked with the Canadian government in the health department for 30 years before he retired. So he brought us here to Canada. So, and when I first came from Jamaica, because I grew up in the country, it was like, culture shock at first. Because I'm actually a country boy at heart to this day. I'm still up here in Canada. I'm in the bush camping, like at least a few times every year, because I love nature, because that's how I grew up.
But also the weather might have been challenging, right?
Oh yeah, I came in August, and I was the only kid at the fair wearing a sweater.
Oh well, I can imagine that. And how did this transition shape your musical direction? When did you start to make music? I mean, when you were 11, when did you get into music?
Oh, before that, when I was 8 years old, I started writing poetry. And my mom being a school teacher, I was guided from a very young age. We're very literate when your mom's a school teacher, if you don't study, you get beaten. Anyways, so I joined a choir at my school when I was about 8 years old, and I started singing Jamaican folk music, and we would travel to different schools and do performances. And yeah, so I came to Canada to actually play instruments. When I came here, my brother and I were walking down the street one day, and we always loved music because my dad was a musician, excellent keyboard player. So we wanted to get into music, and we just happened to walk by a music store and looked up in the window, and we saw some guitars. And I said, "Hey, Carl, I think I'm going to become a guitar player." So it started from there. We started. My brother actually started taking guitar lessons, and he was teaching me. He was very, very gifted, and I'm sure if you research my brother, he's a very famous guitar player. He was just inducted into the Smithsonian recently too, and he's also a double Grammy Award winner.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So we're from a very musical family.
Now, later on, we will also discuss your brother, because he was also part on the album, which will be issued later on. So as a teenager, you co-founded a group which was called Crack of Dawn. And this group was in Canada, as far as I can remember, the first black group which had a record deal with a major label. I think it was Columbia Records.
Yes, it was. I think we got signed in 75, or 74. What happened is we were rehearsing at this little music store, and one day this business guy walked into a rehearsal, and we're going like, "Who the heck's this guy?" It turns out to be a guy named Shane Bennett. He'd heard of us because we'd done a few club dates around the city, even though we were a very young band, but we were different because they said we're exciting and we brought a kind of fresh vibe to the whole scene. So Shane came and sat in and listened to a rehearsal. And sure enough, like the next time he came, it was with a producer, Bob Gallo from Columbia Records, who came up from New York. He heard about us, and he's the one that produced Otis Redding, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. So that's how we got our start. And Bob Gallo came to rehearsal, loved what he heard. Then Columbia Records sent us away like to a beautiful retreat, just a little bit north of this, couple hours north, so we could just totally get our minds off everything, being young guys, just focus on music, come back to the city, and then we did a demo for them. And it was after the demo that we actually got officially signed, because they really absolutely love the band.
What was that for a song on the demo? Do you remember that?
Oh my God, no. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that we did on the demo didn't end up on the record because, you know, record labels have their own ideas and they wanted a more commercial. So we were like a hardcore funk band, like more like Parliament Funkadelic, and, you know, other bands that we had better Tower Power and so on. And so they definitely influenced us as far as which songs would make it onto the album. And they actually gave us, I think, about 3 or 4 tracks that we had to play on the album. You know, that they brought in, their producer suggested that we use these songs. And then we had a couple of our own songs like, you know, Somebody's Watching You, Booby Ruby, and so on. But we became actually the first black band that was played on commercial radio and charted in Canada.
Wow. When you look back at the time, what were the opportunities and the challenges? You already mentioned you couldn't really record what you wanted. Were there some other challenges and experiences?
Oh yeah, there was. If I tell you some of the right now, there's a documentary on Crack of Dawn called "Paving the Way," the Crack of Dawn story, and that's on Amazon Prime. I don't know what it is in the US. It's also on Hollywood Suite here in Canada. But it tells the story. Yeah, we've been through everything from band members getting shot by very crazy supremacists. Back in those days, they didn't want to see us out there. Every club that we played, there were bomb threats. I was a kid. I was like 17 years old at the time. So our manager, Shane Bennett, the same guy that discovered us, he's a white Canadian guy. I consider him to be like my big brother or my second dad. Like, he just took us under his wings, and he wouldn't let he coached us, don't let any of this stuff get to you. You guys just focus on your music and I'll take care of the rest. And he did. He took care of us. At one point, we even had police bodyguards. Was
that racism related?
Yeah, they were a neo-Nazi. That was racism, all right. Oh, yeah, if you see the documentary, it explains everything what happened, you know, to us. But I don't like to focus on just negative, and that's why I stay young. I'm very positive.
Yeah. We talked about that in the beginning, that I asked him what cream he's using to keep so youthful.
Use aloe vera. That's really good.
Well, so everybody, I can recommend watching it. It's not yet available on Germany, Amazon Prime, but I'm sure we will find a way to watch that documentary. I feel so sad about this because I was hoping that at least by the mid to late 70s and in Canada, that you guys wouldn't have needed to go through this. I'm very sorry.
It was a part of my growth. I didn't come out of it being angry or any, you know, I mean, I was careful at the time, but, you know, there's the counter to that is that so many people here were so nice, you know, and everywhere we went, people showed up. Those guys were a minority, man. Like the majority of Canadians, and we were like the first kind of black band that toured from ocean to ocean, spreading our music and culture, and people loved us. So I focus on the positive.
Yes, great. When I do interviews with artists, especially from back in the day, I always hear the same story. It's like we were young and we had an opportunity and we signed contracts which were not in the best interest of us as a group, as individuals. It was in the best interest of the record company or management. Did you also experience that?
Yes, big labels especially, and I've been sent to a few big labels, they always have this controlling thing. And so people listen in and they think that's all the artist, but sometimes it's partially the artist and partially the record label, your handler, your A&R person or whatever, whoever they send to tell you, to keep you in line in a way. But the good thing about it was we went from playing little clubs in the back of a little wrecked van, traveling to these little clubs to get inside. And next thing you know, we're flying to gigs, we're on tour buses, we had tour support. So I guess it's give and take, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So by 1979, you went solo. Why did you went solo?
Well, Crack of Dawn, we came back off our biggest tour in 1976. We had a big hit song called It's All Right, Feel That Feeling. And it was charted nationally. So the record label put us on a national tour. And when we came back, we went to Montreal, and we did a concert. We were working with a very famous singer at the time, Tina Charles from England. She was like a disco artist, and we opened up. But we ended up getting like the huge review and the best response from the audience. I think the main act was kind of frustrating. They didn't want to work with us anymore because we kind of stole the show. But they also had the reps from Columbia, from New York office came up. And, the reps are always with the big shot, with the big person at the label. Tina Charles and us were both on the same label. But then my trombone player overheard a conversation backstage by the reps from New York saying, we got to cut these guys because they let's get rid of the horn section at least because they're too much like Earth, Wind, and Fire. So they didn't realize that he had heard, and he came back all dejected, and I couldn't understand why he was so down, because he kind of had a feeling what was going to go on. So after we returned from Montreal, we did a few shows. We were called into the office to them telling us that we need to drop the horn section. And those guys were my buddies. Like, I know them since I was kids, since we were children together. So being a little bit scared of the future, we decided, okay, let's do what the record label says. And it wasn't a very pleasant experience. These guys were my best friends. But we kept on playing with just the lead singer, Glenn. And after a while, we just realized that it was no longer Crack of Dawn. There was a Glenn Ricketts band and Columbia Records. So the rest of us, the founding guys like myself and the drummer Carl Otway and stuff, we said, okay, enough is enough. And we left. Yeah, we left before our 5-year contract was completed. So after that, sorry. I was going to lead this into the Ojiji. After that, I kind of wandered around for like a couple of years, like lost, because going from big shots to just. So I said, I'm gonna bring back some songs that I wrote when I was a kid and do my own solo project, and then that's when Ojiji the Shadow started. 1976 is when I actually started the first part of the recordings.
Did the early leave out of the contract led that to any trouble for you guys?
No, it was fine. It was clean.
Okay.
It seems like, from my observation, that you were almost forced out. They didn't directly fire you, but they put you in a position where they expected you to leave.
Yeah. So it was fine when we decided that was it. We didn't have no blowback. Everything was good, and we were happy to be away from him.
They wanted to go solo with Glenn, right? And just sort of
yeah. And they what they do? They pull the lead singer one side and whisper in his ear how great he's gonna be. And of course that didn't happen. He did like one project and then he got dropped, because the whole sound was the band. Right? All of us together was the sound. And the history behind the band is incredible. Like, really, you gotta see this documentary. Even the way we came up with the name Crack of Dawn. We used to go into rehearsals like at about 4 p.m, and we wouldn't get out until the sun was rising the next day. That's how dedicated we were. So one day we're standing in front of the rehearsal space as the sun was coming up, and we didn't even have a name at the time. And one guy says, let's call the band Daybreak. And one of the other guy says, no, let's call it Crack of Dawn. And that's how it stuck.
Wow. Great. I can't wait to watch the documentary. So 1979, you prepared some of your earliest material, and then you went into the studio to record an album which was called The Shadow. What do you remember from the recording session?
Oh, that was great. I was able to be free, you know, like I had grown up with a pretty extensive background in all kinds of music. So, you know, even at a young age, you know, I was growing up listening to jazz, gospel, funk, you know, so I was well versed in many different disciplines. And some people told me that I was gifted. I don't know, like, you know, in arrangement and actually production. I produced this album. And like I said, I started the production late 76. The album was actually completed in 78, but it might have been released in 79, you know? So the experience was great because I brought all this knowledge that I had from Crack of Dawn and other bands I played with before, like the Cougars. When we were too young to be actually be in bars, we used to sneak in, perform, and then hide in the dressing room. Yeah. But,
so
yeah.
And finding an original copy of this album is quite difficult these days. And Graham, you were, yeah, it's right behind you, and I'm a little green because I can't wait to. You have an original copy, of course.
I do, yeah. It's over here.
Yeah, it's over there. Show it to us.
I was also looking for the European copy that was put out on De Wolf, the library label. And it's got a whole different kind of artwork. So it was sort of, it must have just been marketed as library music in Europe, huh?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it was mostly a publishing kind of thing.
Yeah, but I got that one too. And yeah, so it's fascinating.
Do you have the US version or the Canadian version?
I purchased this one from a seller in Jamaica, but it must have come out of Canada somehow. It was manufactured in Canada by Ultra Records. And what's interesting about this one, I don't know if Rupert knows, there's a misprint on this is actually the Shadow on track 2, and then this is Dream, and it made for
yeah. I remember that happened.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, and I was making sure. I was like, how did this happen? I was like, oh, this is loyal to the actual record, but there's so we fixed it.
Yeah, I remember that. That was like a disaster back in those days. Whatever, it's done. Put it out. Let me just tell you something about the artwork on that, though. That I sat down. I met this girl. Her name was Cora Rain, and she just sat with me and said, "What's your vision?" And I said, "I see a guy, because I'm from the Caribbean, sitting by the beach, looking over the ocean." And she's just there beside me, Joanne, saying, keep talking. And I said, there's rainbows and birds flying over the rainbows and a sun coming up over the ocean. And then I finished talking and she goes, you mean this? And that's exactly what it was.
Wow.
She did that as I was speaking.
That's incredible.
There's a lot to this album that's really special. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So, Graham, you found a copy and then you thought, I'll make a reissue, or what happened? Tell us the whole story.
Well, earlier than that, I think I had heard the name Ojiji and and I had no idea what it was. There was a compilation. It's not this particular volume, but one of this series, Nadine, I'm sure, the AOR series by Favorite Recordings. I think they're out of France.
That's from France. Yeah. I remember those guys.
So I love all the music that are on these compilations. And I was listening in the car and one of the songs on the compilations came on, and it was the song The Shadow. And what is this? I've never heard anything like this, really. It's a combination of all my favorite music, but it's working together in the same arrangement. And but then, so I knew it belongs to the name Ojiji, but I didn't know if that was a band. It almost like it's hard to even trace I didn't know if it was like Asian or something. Like the name is so mysterious. And then I think finally I was just like, what is Ojiji? Is it a person?
You tracked me down.
Tracked him down. I was like, it's from Canada. That was an interesting wrinkle, because then I think I bought this on Discogs from Jamaica. So I thought it was going to be a Jamaican sort of, I thought you were, I was right that you were Jamaican, but I didn't know it was a Jamaican Canadian effort. And then it came back to Canada, and I did, my friend Elisa and I, who works for me in this capacity, sort of like track down, find out everything there is to know about Rupert, and learning about Messenjah. I had heard of Messenjah, but didn't connect the dots that he was in that band as well. And
I'm the founder.
Yeah, and so like so many, it's so great. Like that's sort of what I do this for, and it's the most fun aspect of having a label of this type, is you get to be a detective and peel back all these layers and discover so much stuff that you didn't know you were looking for, and all these special elements. So then finally rang him up and we got to work, but it rarely goes this easy, and it rarely goes this sort of smoothly, to sort of have someone understand where you're coming from and recognize the vision and sort of be trusting. I've had experiences in my short career as a label that, you know, people rightly are suspicious of someone calling them out of the blue wanting to exploit or sell their music. They should be cautious, and I expect that. But Rupert told me and my friend Elisa early on that you went off of vibes, and it was a nice, whatever he picked up coming off of us felt genuine, and I'm so happy that he did.
Excellent.
That's beautiful. So making a reissue is never easy, especially licensing and rights and all of this. And so I'm very happy that it worked so smoothly. Sometimes it has to work smoothly, otherwise it's even less a part of the fun. So Graham, you showed on your Instagram something of the mastering process and all of this, and I thought you were very brave, and I said that before we started the recording, is that you are very open about the fact that it's a needle drop, that this reissue is a needle drop. And I heard some clips on Bandcamp, and I was amazed by the sound. I totally loved it. And some music lovers have issues with needle drops. Why did you have to do a needle drops? What happened to the master tapes? Why was that not possible?
Well, maybe Rupert can tell us briefly where the master tapes might have been, and then I can tell you why I had to use a needle drop. But I'm very curious what became of the master tapes.
Okay, so my masters were left at the studio that the album was originally recorded. And, you know, like they have vaults that's supposed to keep it a certain temperature and preserve the tape. But I hadn't been in touch with the guy, the engineer that owned the studio, was a supposedly friend of mine for quite a few years. And when I contacted him, asking him for the masters, he's told me straight up that, he needed tape to record. And he just went over my tapes. And I mean, I was very upset. I mean, I could have gone into a big lawsuit over it and everything, but I thought, you know what? That was a part of my life that I'm not going to allow someone to bring me down or whatever. I knew that I had actual physical copies of the record, and I knew with the new technology that it could be mastered or remastered off that. There was no other alternative. Like I said, my master tapes were deleted. I don't want to call the guy's name because he's in a very famous Canadian band. I mean, if I say the name of the band, you're gonna be like, "What?" Okay, so let's leave it at. I'll tell you personally outside of the interview. Yeah. Okay. Very famous band.
Those stories are, yeah.
Yeah, you know what happened? That also happened to Sly and the Family Stone.
Deleted.
So back in the day, sometimes you recorded something and it wasn't even released, and then the studio people said, "Oh, you know what? Tape's expensive. Let's use some of that." Yep. That happens so often, and sometimes the artists only have the acetates left if they're lucky. And then even today, with today's technology, you're able to make not the perfect sounding record out of it, but still a very enjoyable record. So I still don't get the fact that people are, with today's technology, so against needle drops, because sometimes you just don't have anything else. And I prefer a needle drop over having nothing. And some of these needle drops today, they sound amazing. I know back in the day when needle drops were done, you were like, "Oh my God, please don't do that." But with today's technology, I don't see any issue with that. and it sounds amazing. Like I said, I've heard it on Bandcamp over my headphones, and I was like, it sounds great. It sounds super fresh, has a lot of dynamic, very, very enjoyable. So if you don't have an opportunity, you need to do that.
Yeah, and I think we just got super lucky that I live in Los Angeles, and I was referred to by our mutual friend Ben, a guy named Nick Townsend, who's a guy my age, who's just been doing this, 15 years or something, but he's just gotten so good at what he does, and he's just sort of known in the community as the needle drop sort of king, and he does it. People come from far and wide to seek his services, and I wanted to make a Instagram video, not just sort of to document the process. I think in the process sort of show that, like, this is what goes into a needle drop recording. It's not whatever you're basing your bias around that maybe makes you think it's less than. Here's all of the things that go into it, and it's so creative, and it's a science in itself. And
it sounds better than the original, bro. Let me just interrupt you right there.
Yeah, and you've heard it from the artist. Everybody, you've heard it from the artist himself, who says it sounds better than the original.
It sounds better than the original, straight up.
I know.
I was no pops or click. I wondered how he got rid of all the little clicks and pops. It's so clean.
He's a doctor. Yeah.
This sounds better than the original.
I was hearing instruments when he was playing his remastered version. He's got, the top equipment, but I was hearing tracks and instruments that were buried in the mix that I didn't hear anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like he'd brought them out and put them out, and I was like, oh my gosh, is that like a little flute there, or is that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, stuff like that really makes me inspired and trust the process of needle drops. And not to mention the luck factor is that he won a Grammy in 2025 for a Taj Mahal recording of this. So he knows he's the guy. He would be. Yeah. He was in good hands with him.
Did you say with Taj Mahal?
Taj Mahal was the record that he remastered.
Yeah, well, it's so funny. I met Taj Mahal when I was a kid. We were both signed to Columbia Records at the time. Oh. So I was so lucky. I got to meet a lot of my idols when I was growing up. Minnie Riperton. I remember dancing with her in a ballroom. Oh yeah, it was amazing.
Oh man, that's what me and Nadine live for, is these stories.
Totally. You should. Did you ever consider writing a book?
You know what? A lot of people have bugged me so much to write a book. I'm about to release a book on philosophy, but I want to do one. I want to do one on my musical journey someday for sure. Don't worry. There's stories that I could tell you about the road that will have you guys laughing for the rest of this interview. So we won't go there. I've seen a lot. And you mentioned Messenjah. What's that?
I would love to. I would love to read that book. But yeah, let's talk about Messenjah. You were the co-founder of Messenjah together with Earl Blackwood, if I'm not. And you guys had a platinum hit with Cool Operator. What can you tell us about this?
Yes, well, again, after my solo project, after Crackodon and my solo project, and in between, I heard about a guy living in a little town about 60 miles from here. So I went up and met him. His name was Eric Walsh. He wasn't even a musician. He was a DJ, but he loved music. So I started to teach him how to play guitar and stuff. And then he introduced me to Errol Blackwood, who was a local player in Kitchener-Waterloo. It's actually Germantown, KW, Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario. And that's where the biggest Oktoberfest in Canada is.
You have an Oktoberfest in Canada?
Yeah, huge.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. So that's where we're from. The band Messenjah came from out of Kitchener-Waterloo, which is the biggest Oktoberfest town in Canada. So right, and so we developed we started us jamming and playing around, and then we got a gig at this local inn. So the first night when we played, there must have been around 25, 30 people there. Bit disappointing. No one knew who we were. But by the end of that night, people were dancing on top of tables. The promoter, even though he lost money on the first show, was so blown away and happy with the band that the next week he rehired us. And when we were showing up to the venue, we couldn't believe what we were seeing. There was a lineup outside the club and down the street, and inside was packed. And that's how Messenjah came about. And from there, we started playing all the university circuits across Canada and United States and South Pacific. And then when I was in California, we had released our first album that we did ourselves, actually, in California, in San Diego, El Cajon Boulevard. And it started to do so good independently that Warner Brothers heard about us, and then they snapped us up because, you know, they don't want us competing in their marketplace, right? So we were on tour. We were actually in Redondo Beach when we got a phone call saying that Warner Brothers is looking for you guys. And we're like, what? We thought it was a joke. They go, no, they want to sign you. So we came back off that tour, and right away we got signed by Warner Brothers. We became the first reggae band in Canadian history to be signed to a major label. So I'm on both bands that were firsts.
Yeah, what was the environment like as a, and Nadine, I'm gonna totally act like an interviewer because I've never had.
Please do. You're more than welcome. Love your questions.
Yeah, so you encountered a lot of resistance with the funk band, but was there the same resistance, or was now the 80s? Were they a little more accepting of
people were getting more open, and I attribute that a lot to Crack of Dawn and bands like that went across the country and showed, hey man, we're just regular people who like to have fun. And we really made a good connection with all the young white kids, especially kids that were into punk and stuff. We penetrated that market, and we were together, man. It wasn't like black and white. It was Canadian music, and we had the support of all these kids, man, and that's what happened. And yeah, it was a very, very special time. And you know, then we were touring with people like Nina Hagen from out of Germany, and you know, like some
wow,
yeah. And then, you know, then we toured with the traditional bands like Burning Spear from out of Jamaica. And, you know, my brother was in Toots and the Maytals for 40 years, right? The founding band that created the word reggae, that's Toots and the Maytals. My brother was with them for 40 years.
They're the best. They're iconic.
Yeah, those are the guys that before Bob Marley even was these guys.
I know.
The story is huge, so I just want to try to compress it, you know, but it's a big story with my, and if you look at Messenjah, this is what will freak you out. So I'm in Messenjah. My brother is the lead guitar player of Toots and the Maytals, right? Eric, the other guy I told you about, his first cousin is a guy named David Hines, the lead singer from Steel Pulse.
Wow.
And my bass player, Charles, his cousin is Carlton, who sings with Inner Circle. The guy that, you know, after Jacob Miller passed away, the ones that did Bad Boys and all this stuff, and Girl, I'm Gonna Make You Sweat. So we're literally, and my other guy, Trevor Daly, his brother is the bass player in Third World, Richard Daly. So just from our band spreads out all over the world.
The reggae, the reggae tree.
Yeah, it's a family. And the funny thing is, when we left Jamaica, we didn't even know each other, most of us. And we never even knew the other guy was a musician. It turns out that we're all related by blood.
Holy crap.
It's hilarious.
Oh, man. I'm learning that for the first time. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Messenjah also won a Juno Award in 1998.
Yeah, 1 second. Let me see. One second.
Around here
yeah, bring it up. Keep the awards coming.
Okay, let's see.
I love the guitars, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on a second. I'll make you big for this one. Oh, look at this. Wow.
That's our Juno. And this is the latest award we just received a couple of years ago from a university here. It's called the Impact Award. And it's for Canadian artists. It's Impact. It's from Ryerson University. And it's for bands that contributed to the musical industry in Canada, where they said that we were trendsetters and innovators in Canadian music.
Wow.
And then we have Casby's, and also have, you know, Hall of Fame and stuff like that.
Stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's very, very impressive.
Thank you.
let's just go back to the upcoming reissue. Graham, when and where can I order it? So I will be definitely having in my store for the German market. Who will? Where and when can I order it? Over your website?
It's for pre-order on my website. It's also for pre-order. I was lucky enough to team up with Light in the Attic, who, at least from my growing up learning about reissues, Light in the Attic was the top of the top. They were sort of reissuing everything. They sort of educated me, just knowing they existed on bands that I'd never heard before and realizing that reissuing was something you can do. So the fact that they wanted to distribute it was such an honor, and it feels so great to be able to direct people to Light in the Attic. So if you type in Ojiji, Light in the Attic, The Shadow, any of those combination, you can pre-order it on their website as well. And so there's lots of ways on the Continued Sound Bandcamp, and I'm sure to get Souldisco a few copies, and anywhere if you Google it, you can pre-order it, and it's coming out very soon. It's coming out on the 12th.
Awesome.
And it's in a beautiful blue vinyl.
Yeah, I got really lucky. I got really lucky, I think, because when you're picking colors, I'm not right there in the factory. I don't get to see it,
I went to the factory.
Yeah, he went to the factory, but before
those guys are awesome. That factory is amazing. They are really passionate about their work.
So I've been using this factory in Ontario to make records. All four have been pressed at this place, Microforum in Ontario, and I said, "Holy crap! Rupert lives in Ontario. He can go there and actually meet with the people and talk to people that I've just been corresponding with." But turns out they're an awesome group of people, and they're very passionate about vinyl. And
absolutely. Here's one thing I want to say. If this does really well in Germany, and you guys want to do a little Ojiji live thing, I could put a section together, and I will gladly go over there and do a couple of dates.
Wow! So everybody who's watching,
you heard it here.
Ojiji, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, if it sells over there, and we could hook up with a promoter, we'll put a project together and go over and do some shows.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Maybe in October, so you can go to Munich to the real Oktoberfest. But Ojiji, you also played on the Nelson Mandela at the Sky Dome, and also Reggae Sunsplash in 1985, and you were also toured with The Clash.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Well, I played with Nelson Mandela twice, actually. When he was first released from prison, we played at the capital of Ontario, which is Queen's Park. And so we backed him there, and he came on stage. And then when we played at it's called the Rogers Center now, it used to be called the Sky Dome, 52,000 people. And Nelson came up on stage and danced with us, and it was just an incredible experience. And we actually did a song for his children fund called Lord God, or For the Children. Yeah. Playing with people like Frank Zappa at the National, what was it, the CNE, the Canadian National Exhibition, working with The Clash at Maple Leaf Gardens. It's been too much to actually recall, but lots of big bands, lots of tour dates, lots of friends. And my brother Carl with Toots and the Maytals, he's toured Europe more than he could count, and 9 tours with the opening for the Stones.
Wow.
Carl's is also on the record. Carl is also on the record. He is also on the record. So everybody, I can highly recommend check out the album. You will be impressed. It's a fantastic one. But he also did some other albums, Halfway Home, and I think Once a Lion, which was released in 2000.
Yeah, so Halfway Home is the one that came right after this. I think I released it in 1980, 81. So yeah, and I love it. You could see me kind of bridging into that jazz reggae fusion, which was different. I was the only person that was doing that I knew of, and I was really scared because I didn't know how people were going to accept me bridging that 2 genres together. But I'm I'm happy that I did it, you know. And after that, like you said, what was that? Then Messenjah came, and then Once a Lion. Yeah, so Messenjah came back together for a couple of reunion dates and stuff like that, and Crocodile also. But then I did Once a Lion. I was living in Hawaii, right? And when I was Messenjah was on tour in Hawaii, and then we got to Lahaina, we just fell in love with Hawaii because it reminded us of Jamaica so much. You know, the same foods and fruits and stuff and the weather. So I said, damn, I'm coming back here. So after the tour, I went back to Hawaii and linked in with a bunch of local musicians there and recorded my next solo album, Once a Lion. And that went in a whole different direction. That was mostly like a reggae project. But if you listen to my arrangements, they're always a bit sophisticated as I put jazz and R&B elements inside of reggae.
For Craig of Dawn and all of the projects you had, you were always the one who did the arrangements?
A lot of it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like the youngest guy. I was the kid of the band back in those days. I just had this ability to hear things. I wasn't like classically trained, and I just could hear it.
And you're also, and now I have to read that. You are the head of the Thai Mantis Kung Fu Association in Toronto, and you became the first non-Chinese international president of the official Praying Mantis Kung Fu School.
Yeah, well, I'm an honorary president overseas under Grandmaster Lee Kam Wing. Rest in peace, he passed away. I'm kind of known here for my martial arts, and I also taught Chinese, health practice, Qigong. I taught at the College of Naturopathic Medicine also, and I still continue to teach Qigong to this day. I do it every week.
Wow. I wish I would live in Canada. I would take like every week. I would take a couple of hours to practice it. I've been always fascinating with martial arts. Sure. I think it's very fascinating that what you are able to do with your hands and your body, physically and just mentally, if you concentrate on things, what you are able to do. And I was always fascinated with that.
Actually, one of my students, her name, she's Chinese. She's actually in Germany right now. She was at the Shaolin Temple in Germany. We're doing some healing stuff, doing acupuncture and taking care of the horses and stuff like that.
Is there a correlation between jazz music and Kung Fu? Is there something that you knew as a jazz musician that carried right over into your martial arts?
It's funny that you say that because I know a lot of musicians, especially jazz guys, that are into Kung Fu. Victor Wooten, the great bass player from Bella Fleck and the Flecktones, he's one of those guys. Very, very deep into the martial arts. And if you look all the way back to guys like Buddy Rich, amazing drummer, all those guys are martial artists. A lot of them were martial arts guys. And it's the same mental process. It's art, And what I do now is a lot of it is just like free flowing. Kind of like jazz, right? Just flows, right? Yeah. That's what I do.
Well, that's an interesting connection.
Yes,
I imagined it because there's this. You chase that when you've experienced sort of that. I have to make moves and make decisions without thinking about them and make them in real time, and I can't predetermine what's going on. I'm a skateboarder, and there's a little bit like that where
nice.
You have to predict what you're going to do. Your body's in touch before your brain is, and I know that's true with music, and I imagine with martial arts.
Skateboarding, that's cool. Yeah, when I was in Hawaii, I was hanging out with a bunch of skateboarders down there. What's the name? He was the most famous skateboarder. He had a shop down in Honolulu. What's his name?
Was there a guy called Christian Hussoy?
No, old school. One of the most famous guy, old school.
Oh, well, there's Tony Hawk is the most famous.
Tony Hawk. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I used to hang out at his place when I was in Hawaii. Yeah.
How did you find yourself in the Tom Cruise movie Cocktail? You were sort of an actor in that.
Oh no, my band, Messenjah played This Magic Moment. What happened is Tom Cruise was in town, and we were playing doing a concert at a place called the Bamboo, and there was a huge lineup outside, but he squeaked in with his bodyguards and watched the band and fell in love with the band, and he told the director that I want this band in the movie. Just like that. We didn't do anything. He just said, whoa, I want these guys in my movie. So that's how that worked out.
That's an easy audition.
Yeah.
So, but you were also on television, right? With Messenjah?
I was a stunt man on the TV series with David Carradine, Kung Fu The Legend Continues. I think I did like 9 episodes doing stunts. David Carradine was a very good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, to this day, his daughters come to visit me usually at least once every year. Good actor. Kill Bill was the last big movie he did before he passed on. But yeah, I'm very good friends with that family. I'm kind of a connected guy.
I'm just sitting here stunned, totally stunned. Yeah, no, this one, he came over last week. We had a drink. It was great. So what will be your future projects?
Well, Messenjah is back in the studio right now. We have a single that we want to finish before year's end. And maybe we'll do a music video for it also. And oh man, I just love this track so much. I listened to it like 10 times in a row, and I'm just so proud of our arrangements and performances and stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna even though I'm mostly focused on martial arts because that's how I do my day-to-day grind, but like the music is always happening in the background, and people are begging us, oh, when's Messenjah coming back? I mean, we took like 14 years off, and when we came back, we sold out every single show that we went on. You know, it was unbelievable. And then COVID came around, and then everything just fell apart So now we're going to pick it up and put the single out, and hopefully the music video, see what happens next spring. You know what I mean?
So when will the single will be available in spring?
I'm hoping that it's out maybe before the end of the year, and I'm saying like for some tour dates in Canada, we might do like spring summer, like those because we like to do the big outdoor concerts,
And how can people hear the track once it's available?
Well, once the track is available, it's definitely going to be on all the different platforms and stuff like that. I'm not sure if we're going to even approach a major, like for the process takes too long, and these guys, I don't know. I'm still friends like with the ex-VP of Warner Brothers and stuff like that, and he's really down right now on the mainstream industry himself. He's just saying if he was an artist, he goes, I just release it myself, blah blah blah. Or mini labels like yourself, people that actually care, I could talk to. We become, we're kind of like friends already. Like I keep in touch with these guys. I kind of like that vibe, but. And also, I'll let you know. I'll tell Graham, so he'll let you know when the single is done, and I'll try to. I'll get it over to you guys.
That would be great. I can't wait to hear new material from Messenjah.
Yeah.
Rupert, is there a question you haven't been asked and you think it's very important?
Question. You guys have done pretty well so far. I'm sure there's a million things I could fill in. I don't want to be too, dominating with this interview.
You being the one who's interviewed, so please be dominant.
Sure.
Well, you know what? You've asked a lot of really good questions. I would put it as there anything else that you can think of that I might be able to fill you in on? See how I just turned that around? That's Kung Fu. That's Kung Fu, right?
Yeah.
You turn it around. Yeah. Will there be a reissue of your second solo album? And will be Graham doing it?
Wow, that's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
And if there ever is, for sure, I would like Graham to do it. Okay. If he's interested,
be an honor. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I don't take as long as Warner, but it takes forever to do it. For me, at least, I'm just a one-man operation, and things like that take so long.
You're still faster than the majors.
Yeah, oh, that's great. I'll put that on my cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always I think it's more convenient also for the artist. Like I have a reissue label myself. I just had my first release, and I think if you have the
Excellent.
connection to the artist or with the rights owner, and I think you can do that way more smoothly than with
Yes.
all the big ship. Only we need to go left. Yeah, let's wait 2 years till we go left.
I
And
know. It's so frustrating, eh?
it's super frustrating, and also your wishes are more respected, and what's possible, what's not possible. And I think if you're working with people like Graham or myself, we are passionate about the music. If you're having a small reissue label, it's not about the money. It's
No.
never about the money. That's absolutely
passion.
so. It's passion. What Graham is doing is absolutely fantastic. He put out a wonderful compilation, and I just love his reissues and the work he puts into it. And I think it's always, at least for the soul, not financially, and also for your creativity, way better to do it with a smaller company instead of a major who's saying, "Oh yeah, then you need to go there. Oh please don't wear this. And could you please shave? And could you do this?" So
Micromanagement.
micromanagement, and that's not working today. So I think with social media and the possibilities, also Graham, me have to put the message out. Say, hey, we did a new release, a new reissue here. Listen to it. I think that's the best way to do it, in my humble opinion. And Graham is fantastic.
Exactly, and I just think just hitting all the new platforms is the key, and having stories just like this interview or whatever. Also, before we go, I'd like to say how amazing your assistant Elisa is. We've become very good friends. She's just such a nice person. I love her. Absolutely.
She's the best. She's the best person I couldn't think of a nicer person to represent sort of what we're doing. And she's
yeah.
great.
She told me you guys have been friends for a long time.
Yeah, she's my all the way from New Jersey days. So
yes, that's what she said. She's such a nice lady.
I want Elisa too.
Oh yeah, we'll get you in touch. Everyone needs an Elisa on their team.
Elisa.
Yeah.
But yeah,
great.
I think the as an independent label myself and working in these circles, I feel like we all want to do, the musicians, the owners, and even the record stores, is just feel heard and listen to each other and feel respected and sort of respect each other's grind and support one another. And I think like we get to be so close to what reminds us and what we love about doing what we do. And I was in New York City just over the weekend. I brought a stack of Ojiji copies just to go around the cool record stores and just give them one and say, here's a promotional copy. I'm Continued Sound, all this stuff. I went to the first place, a place that I love called Human Head Records that sells a lot of Brazilian stuff. They're very popular in the States. And I go to give him one and he says, how many do you have in your bag? And I said, I don't know, like 5 or 10. And he's like, I'll take all of them because I respect what you do. And it's not easy to do what you do. And so
that's fantastic.
The level that I'm at, there's all just nothing but respect. And I can imagine the bigger labels, that's the one thing you don't get.
Okay, I'll tell you guys a little, because you asked me about saying something that I wasn't asked. I'll tell you a funny little story. Absolute 100% truth. Anyone that knows me knows this. I'm a kind person. I give away everything. So at one point, I realized that I'd given away every single record I've ever made, all the Ojiji stuff, all the Crocodile album, 4 Messenjah albums, plus all the EPs and blah blah blah. And one day I'm in my house, I'm going, wait a second, I don't have any of my own stuff. I've given them all away, right? So my family was on my butt, said, look, you gotta stop doing that. You better get your stuff back. So I started going online and searching for my own stuff, hoping that they wouldn't recognize that it was me, that they jacked the price, right? But I ended up getting stuff from all over the planet. I had to pay $400 for the Cool Operator album that was shipped to me. Sent to me from a guy in Greece. Yeah. He probably realized that I needed it desperately and he jacked the price on me. And I was fearful of that happening. But now I have every single vinyl I've ever made. I got it in my room in a box.
All right.
Yeah, perfect. Because many artists don't even have a copy of the material they did. So they did
That's
exactly
right.
the same. And nowadays, some of these records are very difficult to find and to get back. And
Yes.
I think it's always very important for an artist to have at least one copy of something you've created.
Yes.
No, the
Absolutely.
aftermarket is so insane. You know, a
It's
record costs more. All someone has to do is buy it and resell it, and they can
Mhm.
charge it 5 times the price.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to pay big time for my own record.
If you need the European Ojiji, I'll send you my copy of that one. Do you have that one?
I have a copy of the.
The green
I
one.
have a copy. I have a copy of the compilation with the shadow on it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I did a thing with that company from France.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll get you the
Oh,
one, the DeWolf one.
Yeah, and there's another company that just got in touch with me. They wanted to do a remix of one of the songs on the project that we just released.
Oh, cool.
So I told them, I said I'll consider it, but I have to speak to Graham first, and we'll see if we could work together.
Hey, the ball's rolling already. See?
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. If you look back on your career, and I think you've had many precious and great moments, is there a moment in time where you say, okay, this is very special to me?
Wow. There's a few moments, but one, yeah, playing. Okay, how do I explain this? When you go out on the road, like say you're gone for 3 months, you're away from your family and stuff, and you get so homesick, after a while. But you love your people on the road, your audience and stuff, and then you say, "Oh man, I'm done. I want to go home." And then you get back home, and then after about 2 weeks, you're like, "Man, get me out of here. I need to be on the road." Right? Yeah, this force that kind of draws you. And then some of the venues that I played over the years are just so spectacular. Like I played at this the Lahaina Civic Center, and I just remember it's on a slope like this where the people sit, and then the stage is at the bottom, like an amphitheater. And behind the stage, the view is of the ocean. And I remember the sun setting, right behind the stage over the ocean, and then the lights popping up, and it was just like, whoa! I just felt like so magical.
I think
And
that's on YouTube.
yeah, also like touring and meeting other musicians. I think I was in California once, and we're sitting at the Del Mar Inn, and we saw another big tour bus pulled up. Guy walks off the bus, fur coat on, and in California, we kind of whacked, and 2 beautiful girls. And he says to me, "Hey, you a musician?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Far out." He goes, "You staying at the hotel?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I could tell you're a musician." Right? He goes, "Remember the rules of the road?" And I go, "What's that?" He goes, "Party, party, party." And that was the band Foreigner.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's so great.
Wise words from Foreigner.
Yeah.
Do you have a message for your fans?
Well, yes. My message is, in a world of turmoil, stick to peaceful thoughts and great music. Don't get pulled down by all the media hype and then all the negativity. We want to let's try to keep it on the positive side of life. We know that we're not putting our heads in the sand and pretending things aren't happening, but we want to rise the truth and the goodness within humanity. That's my message. And our music that I do is to try to help to promote that positive light.
And you're sure doing that with that album.
Thank you so much.
Really, I've listened to it, and I wasn't in a really good mood. It was very stressful, and I listened to it, and once it was done, I was like, "Oh, it's a beautiful day."
Oh, thank you.
It changed my mindset for just listening to that album.
That's what I wanted to hear. I mean, it means a lot, and that's why I do what I do, and that's why our process was actually so easy, also, because I just want to put out that positive vibe. Life is short.
Mm-hmm. Incredible.
Graham, I'm through with my questions. Do you have some left?
No, I think I'm sure I will as soon as we hit cut, but it's this
It's always that way.
Yeah.
So great. I like to end up by saying it's really great meeting and talking to you. And thank you so much for being so supportive. And I hope this music will touch many hearts.
It will. I'm sure it will. And thank you for creating the music. Thank you for putting all this positive vibe through the music. And Graham, thank you so much for doing the reissue.
That's what I love.
Yep. Excellent.